I'm Kitty Feldy, and welcome once again to the Book Club of the Air for young adults. Our book this month is called Whale Talk, and it's by Crutcher, and I am joined by a trio of readers that have been talking about books together for 10 years now, the Geneva Street Readers. Let me introduce you to Lauren Weinberger. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
10th grader at Flint Ridge Prep out in La Cañada, and Marion Watson, another 10th grader from Immaculate Heart in Los Angeles. Good to have you with us. And Calder Block, a 10th grader at Rebay in, it says LA, but aren't you like in Highland Park?
Yeah, we're really on the border.
Kind of out there, yeah. All right, well, the book was Whale Talk, and I have to start it, well, let's describe the book. Start with the title, kind of an odd title. Marion, what do you think? What's it about?
Well, the title is based upon how the father of T.J. Jones, he likes to watch movies about whales. He talks about how whales never hide their feelings. Whatever they say is always out there, and all their emotions are there for everyone to read.
And Lauren, it's about, let's describe T.J. What's his real name?
The Dow Jones. And his mom was a hippie, and he said that she named him in one of her spiritual moments. And his first name is and then Dow Jones. So he is a mixed race. He's part African American, part Japanese, and part Caucasian. And so throughout his life, he encounters a little bit of racism, and the book talks about how he overcomes that. And so,
well, let's actually hear a little bit from his voice. The book is written in first person, and Calder, why don't you read a little bit from the early part of the book?
All right. It's interesting being of color in a part of the country where Mark Furman has his own radio talk show. My parents have always encouraged me to be loud when I run into racism, but I can't count on racism being loud when it runs into me. Very few people come out and say they don't like you because you aren't white. When you're younger, it comes at a birthday party. You learn about it after the fact, or later, having a girl say yes to a date only to come back after discussing with her parents, having suddenly remembered that she has another engagement that night.
Well, we'll come back and talk about race in a minute. Let's describe the plot. Who wants to tackle that? Calder, you want to tell us what the book's about?
Yeah, the book's really about how T.J. Jones, like Lauren said, does encounter racism, and he builds a team of social outcasts, really. And
what kind of team?
It's a swim team. And it's how he helps that team overcome the social barriers, because since they are social outcasts, the athletic program doesn't want them to wear the sacred letter jackets. And it's how TJ helps them to overcome that barrier and attain the holy grail of Cutter High School.
What did you think about the writing, Marion?
It was really advanced kind of writing. It was really nice kind of to read. There was some language in it, but it overall was very entertaining to read.
What do you mean language in it?
It uses swear words a little bit, but it's got a higher level kind of understanding. They use a large vocabulary in it.
Including one character who uses big, you like that character,
yeah,
Calder?
Dan Hole is pretty funny. I also like when...
well, describe Dan Hole.
Okay, Dan Hole is pretty much a nerd. He has a wide vocabulary of many syllables, and he uses it on a regular basis when it really isn't needed. And I found it funny that Iko had him doing push-ups every time he couldn't understand a word.
Iko was this sort of fly-by-night coach they found, a guy who was trying to support his kid in college by working 2 jobs and living in the health club full-time to pay for it. This ragtag group of guys, there were a lot of them. Did you have a hard time keeping track of the characters, Lauren?
a little bit, but after I read it a few times, they all had really different personalities, so I thought that really helped in trying to diversify it. So it made it easier to understand the team, because there was one guy with one leg, there was the guy who uses big vocabulary, there was one that didn't really say anything, there was one that when he was little, his mom's boyfriend wrapped his head in saran wrap, so he was left with permanent brain damage. There was T.J. Jones, and he's really, really athletic, but I guess he made a vow to himself never to participate in any high school sports. And this was his senior year, and he decided to, so it's really different. It's diversified team.
Well, and Marion was talking about the language that was a little questionable. There's adult situations, I guess we could say, in this book as well.
Yeah, I think the words, they're pretty easy to comprehend, but the situations behind them are mature.
So again, what age group do you think this is appropriate for?
I would think maybe our age, maybe a little younger, not too much younger, just preteen.
Yeah, no younger than 8th grade.
Okay.
Because while like Lauren said, the book is pretty easily read, there is symbolism behind it, and some of the meanings behind the actual text are a little bit more adult.
Some people get nervous about serious subject matter and giving it to young people because, I mean, in this book there's conversations about child abuse, abuse of women, domestic abuse,
Racial slang.
Mm-hmm.
very serious racial slang. Again, the question is how appropriate is that, even for kids your age?
Well, I don't think that that stuff could be hidden from them forever, and I think at a point they do need to be exposed to this, and this is, I think, a good book to expose a little bit of that to them, just show them how life can be different, how just there's different ways.
Let's talk about TJ. I liked his character a lot because I think I identified with him a little bit in that he delights in teasing the bad guys, I guess. If he sees an injustice, he can't keep his mouth shut. He's got to go out and irritate them.
Very confrontational.
Very well, and sneaky confrontational too. Talk a little bit about him and the kinds of things that he, you know, whether it rang true for you as a character. Is this somebody you know, or is this somebody you are?
Yeah, I understand him a lot. Like, I understand him, but I don't think I'm very much like him. He likes to rather goad on the people he's upset with. Like, he'll use words they don't understand, and he'll trick them into saying things they don't mean, and then he'll use that to get his point across. And occasionally his temper will get out of control, and he has rage issues, and that's based on his childhood that he doesn't really remember, but it was like imprinted on him, so he's got a lot of issues and stuff with it.
So it's a character you admire, not necessarily a character you are. What about you?
Well, I don't know if I much admire him. I think I respect his character because he does have those moments where he wants to lash out at people, but he controls them a lot, but he does it with very good intentions. For example, his girlfriend's friend, Kristen Sweetwater, got, I guess, abused by Mike Barbour, who is TJ Jones' rival, and TJ Jones just wanted to lash out at him, go find him, beat him up. Throughout the book, he's made references to, I just want to beat him up, and I'm waiting for that day. But his dad explains something to him that you shouldn't, if you want to protect someone, you protect the person before it happens. You don't try to get revenge afterwards because it doesn't get you anywhere. But.
Are you, Calder, do you see yourself as a TJ type?
Not a TJ type, but I definitely, like Lauren said, I do respect him because he's kind of that defender of the weak, defender of the innocent type of thing. In that, I don't think he's very realistic because I don't see many of my friends going out of their way to defend somebody who can't defend themselves. But with his rage issues and his inability to restrain himself, I do see a lot of sometimes myself and other people in it because I think a lot of people sometimes can't restrain themselves in certain situations.
I think it's interesting what you say, though, about kids your age not having the confidence to be able to stand up for others. I'm wondering if maybe this book is, I don't know, I don't want to say a role model, but I mean to at least encourage people to do that. Is that a purpose the writer, or is maybe the writer seeing his own youth and coloring it a little differently the way he wished he had been at that age? Marion?
It's possible. TJ is more confrontational than many people I've met. Like at my school, if something happens wrong, my friends will go like quietly around and they'll comfort the person, but they won't openly like just yell out and attack another person about this.
Same thing for you, Lauren?
Yeah, well, I think the book was about how he overcame that because that's how he was, and then when his dad was dying, then he realized he had to change. So I think the book's about how he overcame that.
Let's talk about his dad. What an interesting backstory his dad has. Calder?
Yeah, his dad accidentally killed a child while he was in the trucking business, and that changed his life forever because he began to really cherish life as a whole. He wouldn't kill insects, he wouldn't kill anything. He was always defending abused children, and that really changed his life. And sometimes it takes something as drastic as accidentally killing someone to really change our lives for the better.
There's a lot of teasing the author, I think, does about the hippie parents, both TJ's real parents and his adopted parents. You guys are that generation too, where your parents would have been of that baby boomer hippie generation. Do you recognize? I mean, it struck me as kind of funny because I think I'm from that generation, and I never think about the next generation sort of seeing us in a weird light. Does that generation seem odd to you?
I think knowing that your parents were those people is sort of odd, because you never think of your parents as, oh, they were once my age, they were once doing this. But I think they've shaped up and they've become more mature. Well, no. I like how they were. I respect that generation because I think a lot of that stuff back then, it's pretty inspiring.
Why?
To me, at least. Well, because it was their generation had definite personalities and definite just characteristics. And in a way, I want our generation to have characteristics that stand out, that are good. And I like that they made an identity for themselves and put themselves in history. And it's pretty interesting to me.
You're nodding over there, Marion.
Well, I myself haven't found pictures of my parents as being hippies, really. I can't really imagine them as that. They've always been kind of the people there for me, but I don't see them as being wild and crazy as I find my friends and myself acting at school.
Yeah, I can't see my mom, who's always wearing blouses and slacks, in jeans and a tie-dyed t-shirt.
You've never seen any pictures of her in that era?
I've never seen any of my parents from the hippie era. And sometimes it's kind of odd. It's like you're in a time zone or something, because you just see people peace and blowing bubbles, and then back 2004, you see people long t-shirts, shorts below the knees, baseball caps backwards. It's like you're in a time warp.
Exactly, and then you think, well, I wonder what that's going to look like 20 years from now. Is that going to look as odd to my kid?
I wonder how much I'm going to change. Because I see pictures of my dad with a fro and his bug and everything, and he's changed so much. And then I'm wondering, if I'm like this now, how much am I going to change, and what will my kids think? Like, yo, your generation was so this or so that.
Yeah, I'm wondering what your generation is going to mark itself as. You know, I'm curious with the election coming up. Is that something students are talking about or even interested in on campus? Yes and no? I see yes and no's.
I think so. It depends if you're way into politics. Like people, they have their debates during class or whatever, but I think people have pretty strong opinions.
I only say that because for my generation, my grade was the last grade that was drafted during Vietnam. So there was a whole lot of anti-war feeling going on my high school campus while I was there. And they'd have funeral masses for all of the guys who died and all that kind of stuff. So it was a reality. So that was a lot of where that energy came from. So I'm wondering where the energy's coming from for your generation.
I don't know. I mean, I don't hear much of it. I know it's there. I know people have very strong opinions about the election coming up. My friends and I tend to have serious discussions every now and again about people in Iraq and things like that, but generally we don't talk about the election because we know there's so many diverse opinions and we don't really want to offend anyone.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought you were going to say it's because none of us can vote yet, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, for us it's like, if we're in a class where a teacher is really into the election, we'll discuss it. And like Marion said, a lot of our opinions are diverse, and I think a lot of our opinions come from our parents' opinions because we're influenced so strongly by them. But on my campus, it's generally a topic we not avoid, but we just don't talk about. We all have our opinions, and I guess we don't feel like it's worth discussing.
One of the things that rang true for me in this book from my high school days was the whole jock culture, and how football players were, you know, like gods walking on campus, and we had to go to pep rallies every Friday afternoon, and I hated football. I mean, I loved baseball, I loved track, but football I just thought was so stupid. But I'm wondering how it is today. Lauren?
Well, my school, it's pretty small, so we're pretty much, the football players aren't like revered or anything. They're football players after school and during games, and during school they're just people.
They don't get
friends.
They don't get easier classes or special treatment. All the girls don't flock to them.
Nope.
Calder?
It's pretty.
That's kind of the way it is at my school. If you're a jock, and especially if you're good looking, you get a girl, and not that it's not that they get easier classes, but they generally pick easier classes, so it's easier for them to stay eligible. And they are sort of revered. Like, a lot of teachers like them. Sometimes they get the benefit of the doubt, so it's kind of like that.
How does the rest of the student body feel about them?
Generally, they like them. They're normally football players, and so you want to be friends with them. I can sort of relate to what TJ was feeling at Cutter.
Now, Marion, you go to an all-girls school. Is it different with girl jocks? Are they treated differently?
Well, it's not that they take easier classes. Like, some of my friends who play sports with me are some of the smartest people I know. They're not really given special treatment. Like, if you have to leave early from a class, you're still expected to make up the same amount of work. You're still expected to put out the same amount of effort that everyone else does, no matter how much you miss of class or not. And the jocks, we do have pep rallies, but they're more just kind of fun for everyone. Because I go to an all-girls school, everyone can support each other, no matter what the grade level. Like, I have friends in like all of the grade levels at my school, and people are kinder to each other, I think. But the jocks, they don't really stand out. They look like normal people. Everyone wears the uniform, and you just kind of blend in.
They don't walk around with Letterman jackets on?
We do have Letterman jackets. You can't wear them for like formal dress days, so you can just wear them, but lately it's been too hot to even wear a jacket to school.
Yeah, that's true. This time of year, nobody wants to wear anything heavy. I always used to see those articles or read books that always were set back east, and people would wear wool sweaters, wool skirts and things like that. And oh my goodness, this time of year, you just want to be wearing as little as possible without getting busted by the dean of girls.
Yeah, like, we don't see the jocks wearing their Letterman jackets or anything too often, because you know who they are. When you come into the school, you're notified of who they are.
Why? How?
Well, I think because they've had so much, not fame,
notoriety.
Yeah, I guess, that people, they respect them, and I think a lot of people actually look up to them. So they have, I don't know, maybe an obligation to be a better role model.
Oh, so they are better. In other words, they're better than the ones in this book are.
Yeah, they don't go pick on the kids who are wearing their dead brothers' Letterman jackets. They're they're like the rest of us, but people just respect them. And
this book handles race pretty harshly, and I don't know, I mean, living in Southern California, which is a pretty darn diverse place, whether you could relate, whether you saw things you recognized, whether the language was way too strong. I mean, what was your impression of this, Marion?
Well, like, if I base it on my life at my school versus his school, people are very mean, and like, if you're somehow different, if you stick out a little bit, then you're just constantly ragged on. At Immaculate Heart, everyone is, like I said, everyone just supports each other, no matter what you look like, no matter what classes you take, anything like that. I mean, everyone's generally pretty nice to each other.
No one's a pariah at all?
Not really, no.
How about you, Calder? I forgot where you go. You go to, oh, you're over at Rebay.
Yeah, Rebay's a pretty diverse school, and when I read this book, I know that at one point racism was a really big issue, and it still exists today. But it's kind of shocking because, like you said, in Southern California, we're really diverse. And it's kind of shocking when you see talk like this, because especially on campus, people are civil to each other, they tolerate each other despite race, all that sort of thing. So to see racist language, it was kind of like jumping into cold water. It was just like, whoa.
Yeah, sometimes it struck me a little bit that it was almost from another era, but maybe not. Maybe it's a different part of the country.
Yeah, like. No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Lauren. What about where you go to school out at Flint Ridge Prep?
My school, it's not that diverse, but we do have people from all different races. like I'm mixed, but I think where we come from, like that area, and just where we live, it's pretty diverse. So we see all that stuff, and we, like Calder said, we tolerate it, and we don't treat them as any different.
Well, are you treated differently at all?
No. Sometimes people are shocked to hear what I am because they can't see it in me. But after the shock kind of wears down, they're like, oh, well, it's pretty...
Well, did you identify at all with when TJ was talking about his mixed race?
Because TJ, he's part African American, part Japanese, and I'm half Chinese, and then I'm British and Hungarian, and no one could see the Chinese in me, and like that's half of what I am. And sometimes I'm taken aback when people are like, "You're not Chinese." And, yes, I am, but I think where we come from, it's pretty diverse. So.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too, because I think as more of Southern California becomes mixed, if I can leave it that way. I mean, it's just it's like I'm half and I'm third and I'm a 20th and I'm, it's more, more people who are a million and one things than people who are not. It just seems to become more common here. Yeah. But I don't know how it is in other parts of the country.
Where they came from, they said if him and his childhood therapist Georgia were like an airstrike or something, 2/3 of the population of mixed people would be gone.
Well, that brings up the writing style. I really liked the writing in this book. What did you guys think? I shouldn't have said that. I should have asked you what you thought first.
Yeah, I did think there were some pretty funny parts in the book. I mean, it deals with a very serious topic, but there is some comedy in here that just makes you laugh out loud.
I was someplace today getting an ice cream, and I just started laughing out loud. People stared at me, but I couldn't help it. It just. What'd you think, Lauren? I'm sorry, Marion.
I agree with Calder. There's a lot of comedy in the book. It's kind of hidden in between like the really serious issues. Yeah. But when the times when TJ's with the swim team and everything, you find there's a lot to just be happy about. He's got his normal life. He's a normal kid, and he just likes having fun with his friends. Mm-hmm. He just wishes they weren't all like persecuted for being different cultured background, colors, everything.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about the humor, Lauren?
I have to go with what they said too, and it was funny to see how all the guys relate to each other in the bus, because I'm never in a situation where they're all guys since I'm the girl, and it's funny when they're all alone together how they relate to each other, so I liked it.
One of the things that TJ struggles with is he can kind of see in himself when he's going to explode and do something really stupid or inappropriate. I'm wondering if you have that tendency at all, that you can kind of have that warning sign in yourself before you do something that you probably will regret 10 minutes later. Lauren?
Yeah, that happens to me. I know when I'm going to blow up. I know when I could see a pattern in myself. And so either I just go out of the room, I don't want this to happen, I'm not going to do it this time, or I have to let some of it out. But yeah, I know when I'm going to blow up and get frustrated. So.
Marion, you don't seem like one who ever explodes.
I try not to. When I get angry, I get kind of quiet, and so I tend to try and keep things inside so I don't make people feel bad. I try not to make people feel bad. Yeah. When I know I'm going to do something pretty drastic, I tend to leave the room like Lauren. I don't like yelling at my friends because I know I never mean it, because I know they're always there for me and stuff. So I'd feel horrible if I yelled at them and they wouldn't talk to me or something.
How about you, Calder?
Normally it's when I'm bothering my sister, and then it goes back and forth.
Those darn sisters!
I know, the siblings. And then it goes back and forth, and eventually I get really mad, and then I either have to leave the room or it slips out, and then I'm really in trouble.
I know, I blow up, and then I have to apologize immediately to everybody there. And then it's gone, it just goes out of the room, I hope. I hope it does. So what in this book would you change? What was the thing that bugged you? Was there anything that really bugged you about this book? This has gotten a pretty favorable rating, I would say.
Yeah, it's a pretty good book.
Okay, all right, let's stay with that. Scale of 1 to 10, give me a rating here. Lauren?
Probably about an 8.
An 8, okay. All right, Marion?
That's what I was thinking.
An 8 from Marion, 2 8s?
I'll go 1 up.
All right. Oh, a 9.
A 9.
All right, so a 9 and 2 8s, not a bad rating. Was there anything at all that drove you nuts that you would have changed, that you would have asked the author, what were you thinking? too long, too short? Characters you'd like to see fleshed out?
Well, if I had to talk to the author, it would just be like, how did you come up with this kind of stuff? Because I'm not used to it. I'm used to people being accepting and caring more, but this place, it's so different. It's like a different world. I'd wonder if it was his own personal life or if he studied this or something.
Yeah.
It amazes me. It's so different.
How about you?
I think it is reality in a way. Not the schools we go to, but it does happen. And I thought it was pretty interesting because I like getting doses of other people's lives.
What would you ask the author? What was the thing that kind of bugged you?
I'm not really sure.
Okay. How about you, Calder?
Maybe the thing that I would have changed was I would have liked to have seen more of the characters on the swim team. Like Simon, you heard him once and that was all. Like some characters were really in the book a lot, and a lot of them weren't. Like Jackie, he was the chameleon basically, and he was a chameleon in the book. I mean, he showed up once and you never saw him again.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd probably ask the author, because when I read the book, I found quite a few life meanings. And I was wondering, was that intentional? Did you go write the book with that idea in mind, or does it just kind of happen? Just like, how do you write a book? Do you go in with everything and just write it down, or do you just let it evolve?
Yeah, I think the latter is the answer.
Yeah,
it's amazing,
probably.
because otherwise it wouldn't be any fun if you were just taking down all those notes and transcribing it. Well, this has been, as always, a pleasure. The veteran book group in the city of Los Angeles, Geneva Street, and thanks so much to Lauren Weinberger, Marion Watson, and Calder Block. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
Great coming in.
Yeah, it was good having you here. We also want to thank the publisher who provided copies of the book, and of course I always have to look to see who we are thanking. Our publisher is Random House. Thanks so much for giving all of our students in the group a copy of the book. And if you would like to be on television and discussing a book in the upcoming months, just send us an email, Book Club of the Air, just smush it all together, Book Club of the Air at CS, like CompuServe, cs.com. So just send us an email and we will contact you and we will get it organized. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And we'll be back again next month with another edition of the Book Club of the Air for young adults. I'm Kitty Feldy. Thanks a lot. So what else do you do?